Well, hello everyone, and thanks for joining today's broadcast. My name is Julia Lachey Israel, and I am the head of inclusion and belonging with Keller Williams Realty International. And today we are going to have an amazing panel talking about how technology is changing the home buying process. So, starting with myself, and then I'll introduce my fellow panelists here who are going to share some exciting information with us. I mentioned who I was, but also what I have done in the last 20 years is help buyers get into home ownership. So for 20 years, I have a team in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and we help people buy homes. And now it's changed a little bit since 1999 when I got my real estate license. And technology has revolutionized this process quite a bit. So I'm really excited for you all to get to hear from these panelists about how you don't have to do it like we did it 20 years ago, and all the different ways that technology is really helping this process, one, reach more people, and two, just become a lot more efficient and accessible for people as well. So first and foremost, I'd love to introduce everyone to our first panelist, Victor Chardelli. You might recognize him as the number one. I guess I shouldn't say that. I was going to probably boost it up a little more than I should, but it is absolutely. I was going to say the number one largest retailer, but is it like number three, Victor? Number two largest retail mortgage lender in the United States of America? Something like that, right?
Well, yeah, if you combine all of our companies, we're number one. So like,
Number
but as
one, and I
far
will
as,
say that. So, okay, let me start over. I am
yeah.
going to say that. Victor Chardelli, everyone. He is the CEO and president and also the founder of Guaranteed Rate Mortgage, which is the number one largest retail mortgage lender in the United States of America. I'm going to let him share a little bit more about himself momentarily. But I'd also like to introduce you to our second panelist, whom is David Voorhees. Now, David Voorhees is the executive director of labs here at Keller Williams Realty. You may say, what is that? I'm going to let him talk to you about what that is in a moment as well, because he's going to share from a couple of different perspectives. One, as the executive director of labs, which is really like an internal research company about technology and beta testing here at Keller Williams, but he also is a real estate agent in the Austin, Texas area and is ranked in the number one of all agent production. So he's going to speak to us from an agent perspective as well of how technology is revolutionizing this home buying process. And then, of course, last but certainly not least, we've got with us Mike Dye. Mike Dye is a producing branch manager and operations for the corporate office as well. And he's going to talk to us as well about how his role and the technology plays into all of this. So, friends, I hope you are prepared for 45 minutes to an hour of engaging conversation. I know for me, sometimes people start talking technology, and I'm like, that's not my speed, but it's all of our speed. If you are in real estate, friends, this information is absolutely instrumental to you, and you're going to want to hear more. So, now that I've done all of that, Victor, please
Yes.
tell us about yourself. Tell us about Guaranteed Rate.
All right. Well, Guaranteed Rate founded 23 years ago with the concept of uh, really with doing what we're doing today, which is focusing on the consumer, the home buying process, making it more efficient, and just creating technology that changes the home buying process. Right. We worked with real estate agents from the time we originally started, and we're very focused on the overall efficiency of the process. One thing I always looked at is the mortgage business. From 23 years ago to today, it's still a dinosaur compared to other industries, right? If you look at retail and you look at what Amazon has done to transform the home buying process for just any types of goods and services, it's just, it's completely changed it, right? And if you look at mortgage, so many companies out there are still operating at this old lethargic process where it takes 30 days to get a loan approved or longer. Really, I think most companies, probably even longer than
So
that.
wait a minute. I'm going to stop you right there, Victor. You're telling me it doesn't take 30 days to get a loan closed?
Yeah. So I mean, I mean, right now we've been working with proprietary technology to really change the entire process we came out with a new piece of technology called same day mortgage. And 72% of our conforming loan volume right now is being able to get approved in the same day when the application is started. So it is, I have people that are reaching out to me and saying that it is easier to get a loan with you guys than it was to get my car loan, right? And
Now,
you
you
know,
said that you started this in 23 years ago, and
yep,
has it always been that way, or what? Tell me a little bit about. Now, I'm not going to ask all the questions because I'm going to still introduce David and Mike, but I'm just curious to know how did the evolution of this company?
yeah.
Because you're the founder, right, Victor?
Pardon me?
You're the founder, right?
Yeah. I started the company. So I started my first company in 1992, and I ran that for 8 years, and it was a traditional mortgage company. I worked with the #1 Coldwell Banker franchise in Chicago at the time. They had 10 offices, 400 real estate agents. I ended up starting off developing a relationship, building, getting a mortgage service agreement with all 10 offices. And so I really understood, and I personally wrote loans. I worked with the top three real estate agents at the Coldwell Banker franchise, and I worked with other top real estate agents in the Chicagoland area. So I really understood the agent and the needs of the agent, and I focused on really at the time it was like the wild wild west with a lot of originators and companies playing games with customers based on rate and fees. And a lot of customers were being taken advantage of. And I thought, I just didn't like the way the industry was going. I didn't like the reputation and the name it was, it was getting. So we started Guaranteed Rate with a consumer advocate mentality where we would have a rate that we would offer for all customers. We would have one fixed fee. It would really simplify the process, be completely transparent with costs and fees, and then from a service standpoint, we would focus on efficiency, and we built a processing team, which we called the pod, and the processing team would seamlessly work. We changed the traditional way the mortgage business was being processed, and I call it a conveyor belt. So the conveyor belt from start to finish was being handled by one processor typically, and still being handled that way in many cases today. And based on that, it's too much work for one person. The work itself is not difficult. It's the level of work that is expected of the person is too complicated. So we changed the process, and we cut the conveyor belt in half, put different people where we had one person on the front end submitting loans and underwriting, loan came out, and then we had somebody handling loans on the back end. And it really simplified, we called it a proactive pod model, where we proactively move the file as quick as it can throughout the process. And we dramatically changed the way that we were doing things. I think we grew to be the #1 mortgage lender in Chicago within 3 years when we started Guaranteed Rate in 2000. And as you said, now we're the largest retail mortgage lender in the country, combined all companies. Guaranteed Rate.
There's like 850 offices around the United States, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, we have Guaranteed Rate. I think we're top 4. And then if you look at, we own a company called Guaranteed Rate Affinity, which is the Coldwell Banker franchise. We run Coldwell Banker's mortgage company called Guaranteed Rate Affinity. They're a top 20 mortgage lender. We run Compass's mortgage company. That's called Origin Point. At Properties, the top 8 brokerage in the U.S. We run their mortgage company. It's called Proper Rate. KB Homes, big builder. We run their mortgage company. We have a number of other, I think we have 5 other mortgage companies as well. So between all the companies, yeah, we have a great connection to agents, and we have now taken, and we'll go into this, I know, with the questions, but we have really advanced the technology. And while everybody else is kind of like figuring things out and, weathering the storm, right? And lack of production, we've continued to invest in technology and changing the process to make everything significantly more efficient. So, we could go into more detail on
Well,
the
hold that thought,
technology.
because I have hold
Yeah,
that thought, baby, because I have a
yeah,
question for
I
you
can just
about
keep
that.
going.
So just
Yeah.
hold that thought. I got more for you. I'm going to move on to David. David Voorhees, the executive director of KW Labs. David, please tell us who you are and what the heck is KW Labs?
Yeah, good question. I mean, first and foremost, I'm a real estate agent. So I have an agent producing team here in Austin, Texas that consistently is closing 100 plus units a year. So I started in this business as an agent. And then 5 years ago, I was lucky enough to get to come to Keller Williams corporate office right down the road and work in the labs department. And what that is for us is we build and service all of our own proprietary technology as well. And we know that the people that build that technology, in our case, are never the ones that actually use it, right? They're not the end users. If we were Starbucks, all the people that build it would drink the coffee. Here they don't, right? Our developers and engineers and product managers and designers never actually go and sell homes, and they never have to deal with a mortgage lender. And so they don't know what it's like to actually use the product. So our team's job is to make them smarter about exactly what it's like to be a real estate agent or a market center leader in our case. And so that's what we do, everything from discovery research all the way through beta testing our new products and then optimization once it's out the door. So that's our job, is to be the advocates for all of our real estate agents and leaders in the field inside the building here in Austin.
Awesome, awesome. And I've got several questions for you too, but first let me introduce Mike Dye. Mike, I introduced you as the Director of Operations for Guaranteed, and also you're a producing branch manager, correct?
Yes.
Tell us more.
Yeah, everything we're talking about, Julie, is directly aligned with who I am and what I'm most passionate about. I mean, I started with Victor and Guaranteed Rate almost 15 years ago. We literally have been at this together, optimizing systems, optimizing workflow, optimizing proprietary technology that makes these experiences for the employee, for the consumer, for the agent easier and faster. Because, again, to what Victor talked about earlier, that's what people want. That's what people need. We're all spoiled by what Amazon has done. As an example, I can press a couple of buttons on my phone and have a package delivered to my doorstep in 2 hours. Well,
Right.
they've set the bar, along with Apple, with what people now expect. So arguably, we're doing the same thing. We're revolutionizing our processes, our technology, to be aligned with what people want and need in 2023 with the product that we're presenting them and what they're asking for us.
So you talked about how people can press a button and it's right at your door, right? And it's in the real estate world and in the home buying process, like I said, I've been selling real estate for 23 years. And so when we used to write a purchase agreement on the paper, what's that paper called where it goes 3 or 4 deep? It's not perforated paper, but you all know what I mean. And then you tear one side off and one goes to the buyer and one goes to the, you actually drive to the seller's home and you present the offer. Like, this is how real estate used to be done. But what all three of you are working on is really, how do we press the button and make it immediate, right? And
Correct.
so in general, this is a super generic question, but how has technology transformed the process from me having to go to the bank and sit down and meet with the lender and write out my application? I'd love to hear in just total technology general for people like me. Dumb it down for people like me. You guys are all very techy. I can see that. I'm just the average consumer realtor person who can barely use my iPhone. Okay. So tell me, how does technology help me in the home buying process if I'm a consumer and if I'm an actual real estate professional? And I guess I'll start with you, Victor, if you wouldn't mind.
Okay, sure. So, all right, so let's go back to, how the business was, right? Before, I remember you'd say, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, we need your tax return, we need your W-2, we need your bank statement, we need your paycheck stubs, and could you get it all together? If you can make a copy of it in advance, great. Somebody will be there at your your door or your office, and we'll take the information, we'll handwrite the application, we'll go through all the necessary disclosures, have you sign everything, we'll run through all the information, we'll get all of it. If you don't have that, let's take your information, let's go back, I'll make a copy of everything, I'll get it. I mean, it's crazy, right? I mean, everything today is so much different. So now customers are able to provide electronic information as far as paycheck stubs, W-2s, bank statements, and where it's necessary, tax returns. We actually have technology that can actually look at these paycheck stubs, extract, so it's a visual, what the technology could visually look at it, extract the pertinent information off of this information, calculate the income, and then validate to automated underwriting, you know, if it meets the requirements. You have Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac that have underwriting engines where you run through the information and it can you know, issue an approval right away. So technology has just been a game changer, and what we're working on is really changing trying to get humans out of the experience and being intuitive as possible by providing as much front-end technology at the point of sale, so the person could go in, and I don't know if I'm not too high over anyone's head, right?
If I'm still following you, I think we're good. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. So on the front end, on the digital mortgage, the person could go in. Now, digital mortgage technology is so easy, right? I mean, it only takes 10 minutes to go in. It's very intuitive. The technology is going to ask you a question. You answer the information. It's very, very easy. And then you get through it. It's going to pull your credit report. It's going to run you through automated underwriting. It's going to tell you what documentation you need. You could then upload that documentation, and then the technology will then take it from there and move you through the process. And then from there, we have an underwriter that will actually review the information all within the same day in order to provide the customer with a decision on their loan, like that day, right? So we're actually getting loans approved. We have loans approved in 3 hours, 6 hours, 5 hours, 10 hours, the next morning. You know, it's literally a game changer. And the person could do it all at the comfort of wherever they are. I mean, they could be on a beach.
Well, let me ask you this, Victor. Can
Yeah.
I do it on my phone?
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love it. So Mike, then you are, I'm looking at it this way. I'm looking at it as Victor's telling me what the company he created is set to do. And I'm looking at it like he's giving you the play. You actually run the plays, right?
Yeah. So listen, I'm in the
Well, how
trenches with customers.
does this talking about streamline the process? How do you actually streamline it as the doer running the play?
Well, sure, because arguably that's what the customer expects and that's what we're delivering. So instead, if we think about 10, 15 years ago, even 5 years ago, people were wet signing documents. People were or verbally delivering information, right? Now, as Victor talked about, they're entering that information, they're pulling their own credit, they see based on the information that they're entering what documents they need to provide. Then they have a chance to upload those documents easily from their phone or from their laptop, have them automatically read. That then leads to a decision that then leads to certainty and comfort. And that certainty doesn't just stop with the client. That certainty is also with the agent and with the seller. And if you think about today as a perfect example, the home buying process is just absolutely right with competition. There is so many people that want a quality product, and the seller, the agents, and the borrower, the client, need that certainty faster than ever, and they want that experience to be easy. So if I want to make an offer on a home today, or really, Julia, if you want to make an offer on a home today, wouldn't it be great if I told you that I could give you the money for the home today. Wouldn't it be great for the seller to then know that you can get the money to buy the home today? So now if the seller has 8 offers, 4 offers, 2 offers that they're considering, and they've got the certainty with you, doesn't that increase your chances of actually getting what it is that you want?
Okay, stop right there. I love that. So here's what I'm hearing. Listen, I'm a consumer. I'm not going to be the realtor in this story because David, you're about to be the realtor in this story. So in the story, I'm the consumer and I want to apply for a loan and I want to know if I can get a home. In fact, I probably came to David and David kind of wants to know that right now too, right? So
Right.
I go onto your software. You've got this process that's super streamlined. I put in all my information. Like you said, I'm taking pictures of stuff. I'm uploading it. You said I could do it from my phone, Victor. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
So I'm doing it
Yep.
from my phone.
Yep.
And then you're telling me that by the end of the day, I can know how much house I can be looking for.
Definitely.
Yes.
Yeah.
So now I run back to David.
Or you
Or
can get
Or
approved.
yeah, or I can tell you that the house that you want, you can go get.
I love that. So now I go back and I tell David, who's my realtor in the story, I say, David, I am approved for the house that we just saw that you probably shouldn't have been showing me before. You know, I was approved anyway, but I'm approved for the house that we just saw and I want to put an offer on it, David. How does the technology that you use actually help this process of negotiating and making offers on the home? So now I've got my little fancy technology and I've got my loan here. How does the technology that you're creating for realtors use in actually making the offer?
Yeah, I think a couple of points are. One, there's nothing, especially after coming through the last 2 years of crazy COVID, post-COVID real estate, speed is everything. And I think that's kind of what Victor and Mike are talking to here, right? Like as an agent, your time is valuable. And the less of it you can spend to get your clients the results they want, the better off everyone's going to be. And everyone expects that in their everyday life, right? Through Amazon and Apple and every one of the experiences that are immediate, right? I can order lunch and have it here in 15 minutes from wherever I want. It's about speed and it's about efficiency because everyone has less time than they had before because the world is kind of compressing us in that way. I think our technology is trying to help the agents stay on the front end of that too, right? And make sure that they're servicing their clients in the same way that Victor and Mike are servicing theirs. And in many cases, those are mutual clients, right? And so at the end of the day, we all want the same thing. We all want our customers to think of us the next time they go to make a transaction because of the experience they had this time, right? And so between the lending side and the agent side, we can hopefully deliver that experience together.
So if I'm looking for a house, because now I know how much money I can have. But let's just run with this whole story. I found a house. It was $530,000. I went to Mike. Mike's like, do it all on the phone. I did it all on the phone. Mike has told me I can buy it. But by the way, let's start by how did I find the house, David? What technology is there for that?
Well, I think when you talk about how technology has transformed home buying, it's got to start with search, right? Search is the first
Right,
place I think that everyone felt it. You used to have to come to the agent to understand what houses were available, and then search aggregators showed up. And now anyone can go find any house anywhere in the country, or in the case of KW, anywhere in the world in 58 countries. So, like, that's really what started it, and now it's just continuing to move into every aspect of the transaction, and in I think all the cases that we're talking about, hopefully post-transaction too, right? Like we're trying to keep customers for life, not just for one sale.
Is there, Victor or Mike? So if I've come to David and I told him I'm approved for this $530,000 house and I want to put an offer on it, what competitive advantage do I have by using you all's technology to do this? Because David's competing out there, right? And we've got all this competition that's going out there. What sort of leverage is this offering to the real estate agents to make our offer more attractive?
Yeah. So here's what we've been hearing a lot with inventory restraints is the competitive offers. Now, during COVID, it was just crazy, right? And the multiple offers on homes, based on the market, sometimes it was just nuts. And the seller ultimately wants to make a decision where they're going to get the most money they can for the home, and they pick a buyer that's reliable and that is going to move through with the transaction. So
Mm-hmm.
if I'm a seller and I'm coming from a seller's perspective, clearly if my number one offer is cash and they're going to give me the most money, I'm going with cash, right? And the most money. But not every offer with cash, many times people who are cash buyers come in and they know that they have the weight of the fact that they're a cash buyer. So they're going to be more picky and they're going to try and get a better deal on the home, right? So then you could have somebody who's a first-time home buyer who doesn't have the cash, but has the certainty of same-day mortgage and the loan is approved within 24 hours. And the agent is able to then prepare the offer and provide it to the seller and say, you have two different offers here. You have an all cash offer. It is lower by X percent. And you have this other offer. It's a first time home buyer, but they are getting approved by guaranteed rate on same day mortgage. And the person's like, okay, why wouldn't I wait a day, right? Literally a day to get the approval. And then I know for sure in the seller, there's no downside from a seller's perspective. They say, all right, we're going to go ahead and go with this offer, but you got a short contingency that we're going to give you. I mean, it could give them like 4 days. They could give them a week. They could give them 2 days, whatever it might be. And then the seller ends up getting the most money and then a guaranteed, buyer that is going to execute and close. So again, it provides a massive advantage versus the traditional way that things are being done today, where most companies are then going in with a buyer, they're pre-approved. Now the pre-approval is shaky at best, right? They're not really sure. The seller is in a situation of going, okay, I got this first-time home buyer, I got a pre-approval from this lender. I'm really not sure if they're going to be able to execute. Versus I got the person that's a little less on from an overall cash standpoint, but it is all cash. I mean, from an overall value standpoint on the offer, but it is all cash. In that case, the seller is going to be like, I'd rather just take the all cash and go with it than to put myself in a position to lose the buyer and wait 2 weeks or more to somebody to go ahead and get a mortgage approval. So again, as David's saying, it's all about speed and certainty, right? And this is what same day mortgage provides. Like the funny thing is, Mike and I talk about this all the time. The ones that understand the advantage of same day mortgage more than anybody in this whole thing is the real estate agent. The real estate agent understands it more than the customer. The customer goes through the process and goes, great, loans approved, that was easy, but doesn't really think about it, where the real estate agent is like, that was nuts. I don't think I've ever seen a buyer get approved in 6 hours. That's like, I don't even understand it, right? How are you guys doing it? So that's where we're going with it, and that's kind of where we see the whole advantage in kind of like the day-to-day life of a buyer and the real estate agent involved in the transaction.
Julia, Victor said something there that real quickly that I think is interesting. He used the word certainty. And I think, we talked originally about being on the buy side of the transaction. Let's flip to the sell side, right? I think technology, especially in the case of it sounds like what Victor and Mike have built together, is it's closed the gap between exactly what Victor's talking about, the cash offer and the not cash offer. And if I said it once, I said it 1,000 times during the COVID times, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, we have to get your offer to look as much like cash as we can, even though we don't have the cash. That means we've got to remove as many contingencies as possible. We've got to shrink the timeline as much as we can. And what the mortgage industry heard was, we're going to follow suit, right? We're going to deliver what our customers need, knowing that not everyone has cash to play with. And so I think, Victor, you made a really good point there, right? It's about certainty, both for my buyer, knowing that they can confidently go in and make the offer they want to make, and as a listing agent for my seller, knowing that not accepting the cash offer actually provides me the same level of confidence that this deal is going to get to the closing table as the cash offer.
Yeah.
So we've been talking a lot about how technology has revolutionized the lending and the mortgage process. But David, in what other ways can technology revolutionize things for real estate professionals? What other technology is out there that real estate professionals can be using?
Yeah, I think when you certainly when you talk about it from the real estate agent standpoint, and this isn't unique to real estate agents, mortgage lenders, CRM too, right? Like it's what's the level of service and communication we can have with the most amount of people at a time, and make sure we're tracking these things all the way through, right? There was what, almost 6 million home sales in 2021. That's a lot. That's a lot more consumers than there was ever in history before that. I think it's the CRM, it's our websites, and it's having great partnerships, right, with people outside of just ourselves. That's both in lending, in title, attorneys, wherever you're living in the real estate space. But I think, specifically, CRMs and social media are a really interesting place where real estate agents have started to thrive and been able to give a different level of service and have a different level of visibility that, just a few years ago wasn't possible.
Well, it's interesting you say CRM. And by the way, what does that mean for people who don't know what that acronym is?
Yeah, it's a customer relationship management tool. It's my digital Rolodex, is a good way to.
And it does what for me? Talk to me in layman's terms.
Yeah,
What is it going to do for me?
It helps me as a real estate agent keep track of all my business, right? It helps me keep track of all the people I want to stay in touch with in perpetuity, right? At least I'm not in this, and I think most real estate agents aren't in this for the one sale. I'm in this for my career. I don't want to have a great year. I want to have a great career. And that means that I'm giving value to my customers when they're in and out of transaction. And that means I have to remember who they are. That means I have to remember important details about them. I have to remember the transaction details of the last time we worked together. And so it allows me to stay in touch and stay in communication with people in perpetuity, really.
Well, in the world of technology, though, there's so many options of so many things that you could potentially use. So if you're telling me, well, the best thing I need to do is have a CRM and use social media, what CRM? I think there's like 1,000 of them. And what social media should I be on? What's the one that kids do nowadays? Tickety Talk? Should I be on Tickety Talk, or should I be on Instagram, or what? I mean, help me.
Tickety Talk. That's it. Tickety Talk.
Yeah, I think I'm a little biased. It's, I think a lot like Guaranteed Rate, Keller Williams has made the decision to build and create our own technology, including CRM, and that's just one piece of it, right? We think of it as a technology platform that agents should be able to run their entire business on. And that includes social media, that includes managing your sales pipeline, that includes, making marketing material for social media and managing a referral network, the whole thing. So I think it sounds like our companies are very similar in how we've thought about attacking the next generation of real estate via technology.
So you're telling me I can do all of that on one platform, a CRM, my social media, communicate with my clients on one platform?
Yep, absolutely.
This is getting easier and easier. So first I got a client that can get a mortgage in one day. Within a matter of 6 hours, we can get approved. It looks like cash. It might as well be if we can do it this fast. I can also, as an agent, you're telling me, use one platform for all the things I need. I mean, this is blowing my mind, and I am not a technology person. What about, you both mentioned maintaining the relationship. So Mike, I'm sure that you have some ways that you all continue to maintain relationships with consumers, with real estate professionals, post-closing, after you've had a phenomenal closing. I've closed on this house, this $530,000 house that I got approved for in one day. How does technology improve that process of post-closing for the home buyer? And I'm going to ask you the same thing, David, from the real estate agent's perspective.
Yeah, I mean, again, we're in this. I loved what David said in terms of it's not just a great year, it's a great career, right? And arguably, if I'm not making an impact on my consumer's transaction, listen, I'm about the relationship, right? It's not just about the transaction. I obviously want to wildly exceed their expectations on the transaction, but I never want them to forget who I am, so they have no excuse not to come back to me the next time that they potentially are looking for a home in the suburbs, or maybe they're looking for a second home, or maybe they're looking for a refinance. And if I don't stay in touch with them and asking them how everything is going with the house, maybe wishing them a happy anniversary on their home purchase, right? A year, 2 years, 3 years later, right? Or offering them a refinance when it makes sense to lower their housing expense. If I'm not, or wishing them a happy birthday. We sent a text the day before their birthday just so we could be the first people to effectively say happy birthday, right? Because that's
But wait
memorable.
a minute. Wait a minute. So if in order for you to do that, you have a CRM as well. Is that what you're
Of
telling me?
course. And we've got our own
Okay.
proprietary CRM as well that gives us, it helps us stay organized. Because
Okay.
listen, we try to help as many people as we can, but there's a lot of transaction details. Arguably, there's a lot of people to communicate to, whether it be agents or attorneys or clients. So arguably, if I'm not organized and I'm not communicating, they have every reason to go someplace else the next time that they actually need something, right? And I don't want them to forget that. I don't want them to forget me. So arguably, the CRM helps me stay organized and helps me communicate so I can constantly be top of mind, and they're constantly reminded not only of who I am and the experience they had with me, but also from a branding perspective, what my value proposition is.
And so same question, David. So from a real estate agent's perspective, how does technology help me improve that post-closing, maintaining that relationship, after we're done?
Yeah, it's a good question. And Mike touched on it a little bit too, right? Like someone told me very early in my real estate career, here's one thing I can guarantee you, they're all going to forget who you are, right? And we'd like to think that they won't, but all of our customers forget who we are. And we do want to maintain that relationship for life, right? We want not just their next transaction, we want their referrals for their friends and family. And without being able to do what Mike said, without being able to be reminded of, in some cases, tens of thousands of consumers, at least in some of our agents' world, that they've helped over their lifetime. When is their birthday? When's their wedding anniversary? When did they close on their last home? How many properties do they own? If I'm working with investors, they may have multiple properties in multiple states. So I think it's technology creating automation where there previously was none. Right? Being able to remind me, being able to send texts and emails on my behalf that look and feel like me, coming from my voice. And I think as you talk about how the mortgage lenders and the real estate agents work together is, I think one of the cool things on our side is we're exploring how our technology can integrate with someone like Mike's technology, such that we have mutual customers, right? And it's really nice when our mutual customers are hearing the same message from us as a team. Because whether you're an individual agent out there or you're a team of 200, your team is the people you choose to be in business with, from the lending perspective, from the title and attorney perspective, your home inspector. All of these people are your team. And when you're working as such, even though you work at different companies, your consumer feels that, and it's memorable.
Yeah.
So one thing
I'll add something really quick on that. Listen, technology has helped me enhance the relationship and the authentic, genuine relationship that I have with my clients, right? Because arguably my highest and best use is to actually invest in the relationship and make it very meaningful to the consumer. And if I'm sitting there processing loans or filling out paperwork or making the process laborious or task intensive, then I can't actually make that experience meaningful, very authentic, very genuine, very connective, right? I can't remember to wish my client a happy birthday or offer them a lower rate on a refinance because I'm busy doing all of the laborious tasks that it takes to effectively manufacture a loan. So what Victor has done, at least in the mortgage space, is take away a lot of that laborious tasks for the customer and for the loan officer and the processors, so we can really truly enhance that relationship and that experience for the loan officer and the client.
You both talked about well, it sounds like there's a lot of things that are in common. Obviously, maintaining the relationship we have in common. What about getting the relationship? One thing that is essential to both of our fields is lead generation. And without lead generation, you really don't have any business to do. Doesn't matter how fast you can do it if you don't have anybody to do it with, right? So I'm interested in hearing from you, Victor. Are there any particular types of technology that you have or are familiar with that are essential to real estate professionals actually generating clients? What do you do to generate leads?
What do we do to generate leads?
Where do the people come from? You've got all these people. Where do they come from?
Well, I mean, our loan officers are building relationships with real estate agents. I mean, that's the biggest thing is, just a general connection with real estate agents and their overall customer base. They're, just like real estate agents, they have their circle of influence. Mortgage loan officers are the same way. They have their circle of influence. They're communicating and touching base with their customers and definitely working with real estate agents, providing value to speed, certainty, and things like that. So that's, Mike, I don't know
Yeah.
how you'd want to answer it.
Yeah, I'll tell you, just as Victor said, we're developing and maintaining and growing and strengthening the relationship we have with our referral sources. The biggest one being real estate agents, right? So if David, as a real estate agent, doesn't work with me, but we happen to be on a transaction together, and I've just performed and gotten Julia's loan final approved in a day, you better believe that Guaranteed Rate is giving me a notification to say, you just killed it on Julia's loan. Here's David's phone number and David's email. You've never worked together before. Give him a shout and tell him what you just did. And so then I say, great, I'm going to call David, let him know I just performed on Julia's loan, got her final approved in a day. And David's going to tell me, I've never experienced anything like this. That's where the leads are coming from. Because real estate agents right now are so blown away by the fact that we can deliver this certainty faster than anybody, and they're not used to it with any lender that they've worked with, and that's generating more business for me, as an example, because David's like, well, hey, I want to work with the people that know how to get it done the best.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. David, what about real estate agents? Is there any specific technology that real estate agents could be using to generate more leads?
I think they're probably the place where not every real estate agent has gone yet, but the ones at the top of the world have is social media, right? And social media advertising. I think a few years ago that was in the Google pay-per-click space, and that was kind of the hot technology topic at the time, at least from a lead generation perspective. I think you're starting to see more and more people go to Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and Twitter to generate leads. That's become accessible, like that used to be kind of behind a veil of a technology company. You had to go purchase a software suite and have them manage this stuff for you. That's become open, at least in our world. Like, our agents can go create an ad on Facebook or Instagram in about 3 minutes, and our agents generated just over 1 million leads last year through our technology at around $2.67 on average. And so that's just become accessible to real estate agents that it wasn't even a couple of years ago. Being able to do it yourself and self-serve in that capacity wasn't a thing.
Yeah, I mean.
So self-serving though. So now what I'm a little afraid of. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Victor. You had something to add?
No. I was just gonna say, David is 1,000% right, and it's the term of being a social influencer in real estate is becoming something that is going to be more and more, because ultimately real estate agents can definitely continue to keep on the path that they're on as far as building clients, building relationships. But if you have the mentality and put the social influencer hat from a real estate agent perspective and being able to drive big leads that way, we actually have at Guaranteed Rate, we have the _1 social influencer in the mortgage space nationally, and she is absolutely killing it, driving leads through YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. What else? I think those are the biggest, I think. But she's killing it. I mean, she's becoming one of the largest loan officers, not just in Guaranteed Rate, but in the entire country. She's one of the largest loan officers in the whole country as it is, but she's on her way to literally being like one of the top 20 probably.
I thought that was Mike.
Mike is actually amazing, because Mike actually supports the #2 loan officer in the entire country.
That's what I thought. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and so not only does he support the #2 loan officer in the whole country, but he also supports another group of loan officers. And of that group, I think Sam is top 10, yeah. Right? And then you have a number of others that are in the top 20, top 30. So, I mean, Mike supports a number of loan officers, probably, I don't know what kind of volume. 1 year, I think you did over 2 billion. In total volume he supported, which is a massive number.
You said with a B, right? You said 2 billion with a B, right?
Billion. Technically it was 3, but who's counting?
but who's
All
counting?
right.
Well, you know what? I've got one final question for you all, and then I'm gonna see if we have any questions from the audience. And my one question, I suppose I'll start with you, David. My last question is in regards to technology, all things technology. What is the next thing that real estate agents should know or be looking out for?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's the next thing they should be looking out for, but it's certainly the next thing that everyone's talking about is AI, right? Or the chat GPTs and bards of the world. I think that's where everything is starting to move. And you've seen companies, that have started to integrate that into their technology and use that to help their either consumers or their clients, and in this case, our agents and leaders, add their Keller Williams is just like them. We've got some beta stuff on the back end of how Chat GPT is incorporating into our software to make again, Mike said it really nicely earlier, to take away the laborious work and let us do the things that we want to do, which is stay in touch with our clients. So I think that's where at least the very tip of the spear is, in my opinion, is out in the AI and Chat GPT artificial intelligence world.
Sure, absolutely. How about you, Mike? What are your thoughts?
Oh, again, being such a systems guy and being so very focused and passionate about the client experience and about the experience that I've got helping people. Honestly, I would agree with David. The thing that worries me the most about AI is, I don't think there's any replacing me. There's no replacing Victor. There's no replacing you. There's no replacing David. So
That was
AI
going to be
scares
my
me a
next
little bit.
question. Yeah.
Right. There just isn't. I don't care about all the technology in the world. There's no replacing me. But arguably, I think that, again, the more that we can automate and make it easier to get to any process, whether it be mortgage or real estate or anything for that matter, getting something delivered to my doorstep in 2 hours is going to be very beneficial to everybody involved.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Here's what I would say is we have a technology company where as I said, we have document recognition, we have extraction of information, and then we'll have approval. That technology will end up building up into a big percentage of conforming loan volume where there never be a human that will ever touch a loan file in order to issue an approval, right? AI with ChatGPT can be a component that could be added to that can do a lot of the work and communicate with the customer as call it a automated digital loan officer per se, that can move through a big percentage of the, like a decent percentage of conforming loans. The area that I really don't see for a while, it will happen, that will change from an automation standpoint and really changing the game on the front end, which would be like VA loans, FHA loans, jumbo loans, complicated self-employed borrower conforming loans, things like that. But as far as a big percentage of loan volume, the goal is on the front end, technology will be able to streamline the efficiency of all of it. So we are on the front end, driving this. David, I tell you, we'd love to work with you. You got a great, brain. Like, for you to be on the street and thinking the way that you're thinking, we'd love to collaborate and come up with ideas together, because we need more good thinkers in this space.
I love that. Thanks for the offer.
Yeah, we'd love it.
Now I said that was my last question, but I do have a question. It's kind of from the audience and kind of from me. But there was well, first I want to address the fact that Mike actually said something really important. You brought up, David, you brought up Chat GPT and AI and artificial intelligence. And when you're talking, Victor, about how seamless this process is without a human touching it, where does the loan officer and the realtor fit into this world of technology?
I mean,
How does the loan officer
ultimately,
still remain relevant?
I think they will be. And here's this has been my opinion all along, both for real estate agents and for originators. I really believe that the relationship on the point of sale and the connection that you have with the buyer makes all the difference. And all the technology, what it does is just make everyone's job easier and more efficient. So when you could combine the two, it's the winning formula. One on its own does not work, right, as well, right? At least let me say this, for the next so many years, I just don't see one working independently on its own. And just because when somebody's going to purchase a home, they really want a trusted advisor to be able to guide them through the home buying process on the real estate side as well as on the originator side. But to be able to have that with the technology and the efficiencies, it's a home run, right? And that's ultimately the customer wants to check all boxes. I want all the efficiency, I want all the technology, I want same day certainty, I want to be able to get this done, and I want to be able to work with somebody I trust to help me throughout the entire process. So the way I look at it, and I've always said this, I want my average loan officer closing $100 million a year in business, because your job is to then go out and be more of a rainmaker, building relationships with other people and bringing the business in, and then to let the technology and all the other stuff, be able to be executed for you, right? Versus the other way, right? Where you're trying to eliminate the loan officer or the real estate agent, allowing the technology to do it, doesn't work. It doesn't work as well because the buyer ultimately has a trust. The reason why you have top agents like David or Mike is because they know the business so well, and the person trusts them, but then they also trust David to guide them through the right process on mortgage or whatever it might be to get them through. There's always these little nuances that technology, is not going to be able to guide them. And to be on their own is like, if there's no downside from a price standpoint, if it's, if you're from a competitive standpoint on price, well then what difference does it make, right? So I think that's really, really important for people not to. I don't think loan officers should stress, and I don't think real estate agents should stress to think that AI and all the technology that's being built is going to eliminate their jobs. Now, there are companies out there that are trying to do that. I don't think they're gonna. I think they'll do fine, but I don't think they're going to be wildly successful, right?
Yeah, I think really good point. I mean, I don't think anyone's pushing a button to buy a home tomorrow, right? There's always, at least at Keller Williams, we think about it as technology enabled agents. We need to enable our agents with the best technology possible so that they can do their jobs the best for their consumers. I think it's exactly what Victor just said. I think the days of someone pushing a button to get a mortgage without ever talking to a person, having questions, or the same thing for buying or selling a home is well into our future. And as fiduciaries to our clients, both of us, like, it's our job just to stay with the game, right? And stay ahead of the curve on what is going on so we can deliver the best service. Really well said, Victor.
Are there any questions from the audience? We've got people who are listening to us live on this Riz Media Agent webinar series. If you have any questions, now's the time, because we've got some obviously very powerful people in the technologies in real estate space on the call today. So if you've got any questions, speak now, or not necessarily forever hold your peace, but on this webinar, you'll be holding your peace until it's over. I'm going to wait just a moment for anyone to ask any questions. And as we wait, I want to, of course, thank Riz Media for holding this wonderful agent webinar series. Of course, thank Guaranteed Rate for sharing this information with us. I did not know that you all had all these cool services. And I got a question here. For David, what is the best way for a loan officer to reach out to his agents and open the line of communication? Will he accept a phone call? That's funny, but go ahead.
No, listen, it's true. It's the same thing that we think about with our clients, right? What's the best way for us to reach our clients? Agents are just the customers of the loan officer in many cases, right? Because we're kind of at least partners in that relationship with our buyers. I think it's the same thing. It's providing value. We, as agents, we get head down in what we're doing every day, right? Showing homes and going on listing appointments and negotiating for refrigerators or whatever it is that day. Like, someone helping us, like Victor and Mike have done today, on staying up to date with what's going on in mortgage lending, right? Like, we hear about rates all the time, but what's the differentiator that you can bring? How can you keep me with my clients at the forefront? And so I think finding a good partner like Guaranteed Rate to be able to help you along that path, and I'm sure Mike's one of these people with his consumers, right? Or with his agents, making sure they understand exactly what he's doing to differentiate himself, thus differentiating that agent with their consumers to be able to get the job done. There's never been more agents trying to clamor for the business than there are right now. And we're going to have way less sales this year than we had last year. And so that means there's more people trying to get less. And so have partners that are keeping you at the forefront. And if you're a loan officer, make sure you're keeping your agents up to date on what you're doing to set yourself apart, thus making them be set apart from the pack on their side.
And then I've got the last question here, and either Victor or Mike can answer, but it says, what is the difference about the pre-approval process at Guaranteed Rate that makes the final approval decision so much quicker and more seamless?
Mike, I'll let you take that.
Sure. Yeah. So we're going to use Julia as an example here. If she's coming in and let's say that she is ready to make an offer on a home, the technology that we've created, along with the technology that exists today that we've successfully integrated into our platform, as Victor talked about it, I can say to Julia, yeah, I've talked to you on the phone or you filled out an online application, but we've taken it so much further by then saying, again, and providing that certainty, your assets are good, you've got enough money to buy the home. Your credit is good because I've got your credit report. Your income is good because I can validate your employment and your income, either from an automation perspective or because you provided those pay stubs and W-2s or tax returns. And then the home is good because arguably the house that you're offering on, I can validate is truly worth what it is that you're paying for it without the need, in a lot of cases, for an appraiser to go out there. So that's really the difference, right? So again, pre-approval to actual approval. Pre-approval is more of just saying, yes, I've talked to you on the phone or you've entered in some information, you look good. But we're taking it so much further by actually giving that certainty and validating that we will give them a mortgage for the home that they want to buy.
Well, thank you so much for answering. Again, thanks to Riz Media for hosting this wonderful webinar that we've had about how technology is changing the home buying process. Thank you to Guaranteed Rate for sponsoring this conversation and for sharing your knowledge with us about the wonderful technology that you all have. Thanks to David and Keller Williams for joining us for the conversation about how this helps real estate professionals. And of course, thanks to all of the people in the audience who tuned in today. Thanks for joining us, folks, and have a great rest of the day.
Thanks everybody.
Thank you.